the first thing we're going to start out is just kind of a description of what will you teach, how will you teach.
Okay.
Right? This is our pre-conference with Jerry Woods and Jim Lauer for Leza. One of the first things we want to talk about is what will you be teaching in this lesson today, your team teachers in this class. How will you teach it? What instructional strategies will you use? And what instructional materials will you use? And are there any issues? So we'll go back and we'll do those a little more slowly and give you time to answer what each one individually. So first, let's set this up. The class is 9th graders.
Yes.
And the class is?
It's public speaking.
Okay. And it's all 9th graders in this class?
I believe in this class it is all 9th graders.
Okay. All right. And so just tell me, what will you be teaching when I come in for the observation?
Teaching, well, right now we're getting ready to do a process speech, which is essentially show a how-to speech, show something how to do something. So today we're worrying about organization. We're going to start talking about outlines and how to put together an outline, speech-specific outline for a process speech. So they have an idea of how you put together and how you organize that kind of a speech, so the outcome is clear to your audience.
Okay. And you and Jim have kind of a unique setup because you're team teachers. So how have you decided you're going to teach this together with both of you in the room? Who will be leading?
Well, Mr. Woods will be the lead teacher. He is the sort of speech teacher. I'm the special education teacher, and I will be helping, assisting him with the students with special needs to maybe to reinforce the ideas that he's trying to get across, restate them in a different way so that the students are used to, and just to go around just an extra pair of hands and an extra pair of eyes in the classroom to assist with all the students, but not only the special education students, but all the students.
Okay. Well, you've kind of covered some of the strategies, but what other strategies might you use during this lesson?
Okay. Basically modeling. I do a lot of modeling as I do it on the board. Then I ask them to kind of repeat back. Then I ask for verbal confirmation from someone in the room, 2 or 3 people in the room. And then many times go around to the desk and just kind of see if they've done that.
Okay.
For each part of the outline. And again, very specific on what the outline's supposed to be, so we can actually go look and see that they've done exactly that.
Okay.
That'd be one strategy. So we get almost immediate feedback. Another one, you can deal with people with similar topics. Sometimes, I guess it'd be feedback, whatever you want to call it, where a student will ask a question, and it'll pertain to other people. And so they fire something at you, you respond, and then you ask for someone else with a similar topic or with a similar question and respond to them. So give them examples.
Okay.
A lot of examples, a lot of modeling, a lot of immediate response and immediate feedback.
And then that you're also using this, I assume, as an assessment tool, picking up on some prior knowledge?
It is an assessment tool from prior knowledge. They've done this before in earlier grades. They'll be using it again. This is a little watered down version, a beginning version of what they're going to be using when they do the composition class, which they'll all do as sophomores. So it's a bit of prep for that. Organization pattern is very similar, and all of the outlining principles are identical.
Okay. What instructional materials will you use for the lesson?
Okay, I use a whiteboard, and previously I did a demonstration or process speech for them, which they've seen. Now they have an outline, the one I use for my process speech, which they watched as I presented, so I'll have that to look at as they do their outlines and their seats. So they've got something in their hands, they're going to have something to look at the board, and then of course, so those are 2 tools, and then again, they can ask questions as we go along.
Okay. And so that will kind of lead the discussion and where you're going to go from there. So you're probably going to have to do some adapting as you go along.
Yeah, absolutely, adapting, adjusting to individual students and their needs.
Okay. Are there any issues that you want us to be aware of?
The class, Jim's in there, and the only one would be, that I see in the class, would be that we have a fair number of resource students in there. Not a major problem because there's a lot of help in there because of Jim. So I don't perceive anything really.
There'll just be some slight redirection to keep some of the
Yeah.
kids on task and keep them
Yes.
focused, but normally just a little prompt or cue to those students, they
Yeah.
get right back on task and to
Yeah.
focus.
And the students that, my experience with these students in the past, with the ones Jim's helping out, is that they will ask questions, and they do want to answer. I'm not dealing with anybody with any behavior issues there, they need help.
Okay. All right, now, before we started, we highlighted some questions that we're going to discuss during our pre-conference here.
Mhm.
And so we're just going to go through those. And
Okay.
we might have covered them slightly, and we might go a little more in depth, or
Okay.
we can move on, that's okay. What do you want students to accomplish in this lesson? We've covered that,
Yeah.
basically they're learning how to
Yeah.
do the outline, as
Mhm.
I heard you say
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
Your learning goals are new from what
Mhm.
you were telling me, but this is also a bit of a review.
Yes, pulling on past knowledge, and I'm actually, in this case, kind of reapplying it to another, I don't know, skill or
Okay.
behavior.
Yeah. Most of these students had to construct an outline for speeches, small speeches they gave in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And now they're just reapplying these
They were
skills.
applying it,
Okay.
a little more specific.
All right. Have you used this lesson before?
Yes, almost every single year when I deal with this particular speech, and this is the first full-blown speech they do, the first actual all-out speech they do. We do a lot of little activities, but this is it, so yeah.
Okay. But this is new for Jim.
Yes, it is. This is the first time I've been in the class.
Yeah.
This is new for me.
Yep.
All right, and so how will you make connections with other curricular areas with this particular lesson?
Well, there's a lot of things that can come up. They can choose any subject. The point of the lesson is not topic or subject matter, it's form and organization of that form. So subject matters come up when they bring up whatever they're doing their speech on. They actually bring the subject with them. And there's a wide variety of situations like that. Of course, the obvious ones, there's writing and there's standard organization skills, they'll use for anything else. But they bring in their own information on this one. So when they're sharing, when they're doing their speech, they're actually sharing information that the other people may not know.
Okay.
They do a lot of things. They're even anything from recipes, cooking, to shearing a sheep. In the class, they'll do, it's a wide variety of
So
topics.
cross-curricular.
So it's
way
cross-curricular,
across,
multicultural, it covers a lot of bases.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the students I will be observing in the room.
Okay, students, again, 9th graders, this is for me, a relatively full classroom. Every seat's full. It can be because of the arrangement of the group. It can be rambunctious. I don't discourage that. It's speech class, noise is okay. They generally speaking, when I'm speaking, they're not. So I'd say it's fairly, as far as teacher-student relationship, I'd say fairly friendly, well, not adversarial, at least I've not seen that yet.
Okay. And you told me there's how many students in the room?
26, actually.
26?
Yeah.
And how many of those would be special needs students?
7, okay, 7. Yeah.
Okay. And is there at-risk students, tag students in this grouping as well?
There are
Possibly,
at-risk students
yeah.
in that. That's in
Probably.
addition to the 7
Yeah.
IEP students. I don't think we have, this group, I don't think there are tag students. I do know there's at-risk, general education, and then the IEP students.
Yeah.
Okay. So for this, and I believe we've already covered it, let's just clarify one more time because we have it highlighted.
Yeah.
Tell me what your objective is for this lesson.
My objective is for them to be able to organize a speech.
Okay. And so when we come back again at our post-conference, that's where I want us to focus and
Yep.
see if that, have we met our goal for
Okay.
today.
Okay, great.
All right. What evidence of student success will result from that lesson? So when we come back to that question,
Mhm.
how are we going to know that we've met it?
Okay.
What will it look like?
Okay. But you asked me, okay. I should see a relatively complete, maybe messy, but complete outline on their own paper.
On their topic?
Yeah, on their
Okay.
topic in their own paper. So I should actually be able to go around and look and see if they've done it.
All right. There's quite a large population of special ed and at-risk students in this group. So how do you think the lower ability students will perform during this lesson? Do you think they'll struggle?
In my opinion, possibly, because the actual subject matter, again, the point is organization, not what they're writing about. If they can get the basics of the organization, I don't know that they'll struggle a lot, not on this one, not this particular speech, no, I don't believe so. And if they do it, they take a little longer, they take a little longer, and Jim could probably address that.
Right, I don't think they'll struggle on this lesson with filling out, doing the outline because of the way we try to walk them through step by step. Start with the first part, the introduction, make sure everyone's got that before we go to the next part. And it's very structured, organized for the students, and we try to make sure that they have completed each step before we go on to the next step.
Okay. Do you predict that the students will be enthusiastic about the lesson?
Universally, no. Generally speaking, yes, because they typically in the past, in this particular group seems to be, they pick something they want to do, and there's a lot of messing around. I do this, they'll come up with things that are not going to happen. But this is, well, let's put it this way. In retrospect, in other classes, they've said this has been among their favorite speeches, just because it's fairly loose. It's fairly easy to be successful at it. It's also an additional thing I use it for is to establish a little bit of a, I guess, decorum. What's expected of them as listeners and as speakers, and hopefully to establish also a friendly atmosphere. So when they're speaking, they're not worried about anything happening to them. Right. So. And
what artifacts might we collect from this lesson we're doing today?
Artifacts.
For students.
The immediate artifacts. If you want, you talk about you can handle their outlines. You
right.
Actually can
the students work.
The students work.
Each student will have to turn in their outline.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what can you do to have students demonstrate some more risk-taking behavior? So you said that, for some of these students, speech is kind of a risky endeavor for them. So what about the students who are less of a risk taker? How are we going to get them to be more involved?
I thoroughly believe in if they can't handle the immediate or this big risk, make the risks a little less and step them up.
Okay. So breaking down that process.
Yeah, breaking down the process of making the initial risk, if they are absolutely terrified to do a speech, making the initial risk less risky by reducing the number they're performing to, sometimes changing the location of the atmosphere, things like that. Or going to another place with maybe a different group, which we've done before. And a lot of times that would be like with resource or special needs kids.
Okay. I think you answered our next question, which was, how are we meeting the needs of each student? I think you just pretty much addressed that. So we'll move on to the next question. I think we'll be repeating ourselves a little bit. So what are some examples of classroom management techniques that you believe will work best for this lesson and these students?
I'm not sure what to call it management. Immediate feedback and also direct contact with each student verbally. I mean, just absolutely direct contact, and just being able to call it, hey, John, how are you doing on this? And
what do you have for this answer? What did you write down, and have them tell the class?
Which many times in the past has led them to write something down because they know I'm going to ask.
Okay. And where might there be difficulties, and so how are you going to adjust that lesson? So if you're going to block, you've already talked about how you're going to chunk it down. So if you have a student who is really struggling, they write very slowly, or they're not grasping that concept of the introduction. You have two of you. What might you be able to do with that?
Direct contact first. Another one is that they're just having a lot of trouble. The nature of the class is that not everybody can speak on the same day. There's just no way. So we take volunteers for each day, 5 to 6 people per day. So if someone's having trouble, usually they'll have a couple of examples to look at before they even get there. Okay. They'll be able to watch somebody do it. If they need more help on outline, of course, before, after school, whatever we can do during school. But what really seems to help is when they actually see it done. They see me do it, which is one thing, it's the teacher, and I realize